Did you ever notice what we fail to notice? There's so much that goes on in the background of our lives that we never even see. We're often oblivious to people and to significant needs and opportunities that exist all around us in the background. But what if the background noise were actually the big deal for the day? You know, like divine appointments or God assignments. Now I know some will say, yeah, but those are really rare, right? I don't think so. In fact, I think they're a lot more common than we think they are, or God's just bad at math. Because there are a lot of people who need a witness, people to know and to notice, to see. How's that list coming for you? You know, the one with names and faces on it? And yes, it is necessary to be that intentional. Isee is the second of the 5 I's. And as much as we know that awareness is God's priority for us, we still have an incredible ability to obsess and compulse over details that are only about us. So much so that we've actually developed terminologies for these tendencies. We use phrases like short-sightedness, blind spot, or tunnel vision. I have a cousin that sleepwalks, which is pretty creepy. And the craziest thing about that to me is that when she's sleepwalking, she has no idea what's going on around her. She doesn't know who's in the room, and she's oblivious to reality. My concern is that sometimes it's as if we're sleepwalking our way through life. What might we have missed, or who in our world today? What opportunity to show God's love or to speak truth to a situation did we just not see? I have 3 sisters and a brother, and when we were younger we all shared one room. We had 2 beds with a gap in the middle, and none of us wanted to be the last person to go to sleep, especially my older brother. So he developed this game, or it was honestly kind of like his rule, where if you were awake, you could say not asleep, and if anyone else were awake, they were required to reply back not asleep. Now the funny thing was, if you said not asleep and no one answered back, most of us would just keep saying it and loud until someone woke up and said not asleep back. I sometimes am tempted to just take a walk through the Christian world and yell, not asleep. And in fact, there are times when I need someone to yell back to me, not asleep, because we are not meant to sleepwalk our way through life. I want to be wide awake to what God's doing around me. Jesus said in John 4:35, open your eyes, the fields are ripe to harvest. Not asleep. Jesus had a knack for noticing. He noticed a Samaritan woman at a well in the aforementioned John chapter 4. He noticed a blind man at a pool called Bethesda, and even a tax collector named Zacchaeus who was up a tree. But maybe the most amazing story is found in Matthew chapter 9. On a day when Jesus and his disciples were in the middle of just mad ministry, Matthew tells us that there was this one lady who was only able to push through and touch the hem of his garment, and yet turning, he saw her. He had a knack for noticing. He still does. Listen, we don't have to go through life with blinders on. We're meant to notice too. As amazing as what Jesus did was, he said greater things than these will you do. I was having coffee with a guy recently, and he asked me, Ron, how is it that you have so many amazing God conversations? And I said, look, I start every day with this prayer, God, help me see. Help me see what you're doing in my world. God, I don't want to miss what's going on around me. Help me to be on point with what matters to you. I pray that prayer or some version of it every day. And I said to him, look, even as we were sitting here just a minute ago, this lady walked by. And I don't know if you noticed, but she just had heaviness on her face. Her countenance was just all jacked up. And I said, I bet if you look over my shoulder, you'll see that she's sitting over against the window. And I told him, I said, look, she even had sunglasses in her hand, and I think she probably put them on because it looked like she was about to cry. He said, dude, she's got her glasses on, and I can see tears coming out from under them. What do we do now? And I said, oh man, this is the part where I pray that somebody that I know that's a lady will walk in and I can say, hey, go pray for that lady. That wasn't how it happened, in fact. And as he went out that way, I went this way. And I said to that lady, I said, look, I was just sitting across the way there, and I really felt like God said that I needed to pray for you. I didn't say it awkwardly or intimidatingly. I just said it graciously. And she looked at me and she said, well, everybody needs prayer. And I said, that's true. I know I need prayer. I said, but I really think that God wanted specifically that I would pray for you. And she said, well, I appreciate that. I'm really going through a hard time relationally right now. And I said, I think the bigger news here is that God just wanted you to know that he noticed. Isn't that the story that we tell? Isn't that the good news that we bring, that God knows and notices, that God sees? I see. My friend Samuel that I've mentioned to you before, probably the biggest breakthrough I had with him was when God helped me to see. God gave me a prophetic sort of insight and compassion for Samuel and his situation that changed everything about my witness with him. When I started with Samuel, I was trying to be a solution, but eventually I was excited to be God's witness. And I could see that Samuel could see. John 1:6-8 says this, there was a man sent from God whose name was John. He was sent to bear witness of the light. He was not the light, but he was sent to be witness to that light. I see. Maybe that's one of our greatest revelations, is that to be a witness, is to represent a God who sees.